right now, this session is about digital marketing. And I just want to tell that yesterday we had a session with Suchi Sarkar, and she's the former global director of HP marketing, and Hélène Blanchette, who's the former worldwide director of Xerox global marketing. And both of them have now actually moved to startups in the cannabinoid space, and they are been trying to source packaging. So they've become print customers. And they literally told everybody yesterday that the biggest problem they've had is finding help because printers do not utilize digital marketing and digital tools to the best of their ability at the most base level. We're talking about SEO, search terms that of products and services that you offer. So this discussion could not come at a more timely time, as I already believe, every printer must be, practicing digital marketing and hopefully can turn that into creating a service. But my God, to hear those two women say that they have all these printing connections and they can't even find things that they're looking for was truly incredible frying pan to the head for everybody. So, whether you decide to work with an established digital marketing agency partner or buy into a network or hire a consultant, we're going to cover this all today with our panelists. So, representing the agency, we have Kelly Mandarano. She is the president and founder of Sprout Growth Services. Kelly helps drive high-quality initiatives that generate sales and improve long-term customer loyalty. Rob Finnie is the commercial director of Nettl. And Rob helps small to medium-sized businesses expand their services and grow their profits as part of a print business network. And Siobhan Daukes, I always say your name wrong, Daukes. She is the facilitator of Making Shit Happen, which is the coolest company name on all of our events. Siobhan helps build relationships that deliver results based on client requirements. So we have a nice view for everybody here. We have Kelly representing an agency and how you might be able to just hire an agency or work with an agency. We have Rob, who is bringing a franchise business model where you can buy into a network and also develop some of these services. And Siobhan is actually the person that helps businesses, decide what's right for them. So in that was a pretty 30,000-foot overview, but let's start with a general discussion about digital marketing and what it can do for print businesses to either use for themselves or others. So let's start with Rob.
Hi everyone. So yeah, I'm Rob. I run a global network of print, web, and SEO agencies. I guess if we were to go back in time to the year 2000, which is when I first got into printing, we opened a network of print shops dotted around the globe. But over time, we started to see our print volumes fall and our margins start to erode. And I think that was because maybe print wasn't the first thing on new businesses' minds when they started up. Maybe back in the year 2000 or around then, maybe a new restaurant would open near one of our print shops. And the first thing they wanted was menus, price lists, posters, leaflets. So they would come to one of our print shops and we would do the first thing that client wanted, which gave us the opportunity to do more for them over time. But as things have evolved and as time's progressed, now when a new restaurant opens, the first thing they're thinking about, it's not print anymore. It's a website, it's SEO, and it's other digital services. Of course, they still need print and lots of it. But the first thing they think about is a website. So for my business, we weren't able to deliver that website service, which meant we were losing a revenue opportunity. But it also meant that the real challenge was that client who would normally come to us first, he was going to the web guy, and the web guy he can also upload print files to any of the emerging online printers. So my real nightmare wasn't that we couldn't do the website work. It was more that we were losing a potential print client to somebody else that could. So we needed to evolve our business, and we wanted to be the business that sold what clients wanted to buy now, and that was websites. So over a very strange weekend in 2014, we took down all of our print shop signs and put up our Nettl web shop signs. And what that meant for us was we were now doing the first things client wanted, which gave us more opportunity to sell them print. And since then, we've seen our print revenues grow significantly. And it's all because we've been able to offer the website services and the digital services that small, medium SMBs, I think you call them in the US, are starting to want. So we own and operate a load of shops and studios ourselves. And in areas where we don't do that, we license and franchise our systems, marketing, software, and training to other print businesses who are looking to do the same thing as us. And we've seen a huge amount of growth over the last few years, and more significantly, over the last few months, where clients haven't been able to be found on the high street. And we've seen our product mix change from what traditionally was about 75% of our revenue came from print. Now, over the last few months, print's taken a backseat. And we've seen that that's 76% of our work is now coming from web and SEO as our print sales start to recover.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, first of all, the people in your system obviously had the digital marketing to fall back upon when the print volumes were going. But listening as a printer, what I hear is you want me to create websites now? Who troubleshoots that? I mean, am I dealing with hosting? I mean, all of the objections or the shock on faces, I'm sure that you have been hearing since you developed this system. So why don't we really drill down there and talk to those people who are like, no, I do not want to do that.
So sure, there's some very good points. And Deborah, I hear those things from every printer that I speak to.
Yeah, I guess
my message is that everything feels hard when you don't know how to do it. But things tend to get easier as you go along. And for our business, we needed to change from being just a printer to being a business that can offer a wider range of services to our clients, just to keep us relevant and just to keep the print on our presses. And we needed to do that without the expense of hiring new people. So I guess the challenge from that is, in our business, we already had businesses who...
Morton, that's you. Go ahead.
In our business, we already had those people, and they're people who were maybe designing leaflets or designing booklets for our print clients already. So it's about trying to make that process, the process of creating, an A5 leaflet job and sending it to print. That needed to be replicated as create a website job, design it as if it was a booklet, and publish it online rather than push it to a press. So we had to develop the systems that did that, and also put together the training which helped our print teams understand how simple that process can be with the right software.
Okay, and what is the learning curve on somebody being able, and we're not talking like a website like CNN, right? We're talking about a Remedial website, yes? Or is it a website? How much functionality does it need to have? Are programmers involved?
Sure, so this is about our existing designers, not developers. We have a central team of geeks who are in the network, who are there to help us with the things that we can't do in-house. But really, you're right. If Mark Zuckerberg was to walk in and ask us to rebuild Facebook, maybe that's not the sort of thing that we'd be able to deliver. But typically, our clients are the same clients who would come to us to ask us to print their annual brochure, ask us to print their price lists, their menus. And it's not a difficult conversation to say to that client, well, we're printing these menus. Why don't we do you an online version of this menu and make that into a website? And we can do that using the same skills as a typical designer. So if you can use InDesign or Photoshop, then you can very quickly and easily start building websites for your clients. And you're right, maybe that does start with something simple, but over time, you'll start to build the confidence and the skills that enable you to do more complicated things. So we have a network now of around 250 franchisees in Europe. around 2,000 systems users who operate under white label. And we've recently launched in the US both a franchise and a white label option. And from our training courses that I've seen, it takes between a week and 2 weeks for people to go through that whole process and start selling their first website, making their first income and revenue from that website sale, just 2 weeks after they've started with us.
I mean, there's never been a better time to jump into this with everybody, really needing to create some sort of e-commerce system for their business. There's no Black Friday this year. I mean, a local pottery store might need to get some sort of online ordering system up, pretty quickly, and this might be a quick way of doing it. I'm assuming that the websites have e-commerce capabilities that
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we take that learning in stages, Deborah. Start with the simple things. So learn, then do, and then come back and learn some more, and we'll build up that skill set as time goes by. Just a couple of weeks for you to be able to build that pottery store website with e-commerce function, with payments, with notifications, just like Amazon. And the key behind it all is it's about centralization. So in printing, when we started, rather than having individual presses at every location, and we have about 300 of those, we have that all centralized, economies of scale, a better price point, and a higher quality product. But websites not too different to that. A lot of people, someone might walk into a store in New York, someone might walk into a store in Tampa, Florida, and ask for the same thing. And you have two people trying to solve the same problem at the same time, which is a really inefficient way of working. So with us, we solve those problems centrally, and we share that answer with the entire network, so that the person who walks into the New York store is going to get the same system, structure, and build as the person who walks into the Tampa, Florida store. It's just the way it looks and operates is going to be different. And that's down to our in-house design team to culture the way it looks and feels in line with our client's brand.
Okay, so Rob is representing the do-it-yourself model, where you can work with his company, with the other franchisees, and get into this ecosystem. But essentially, you're providing the services. Now we're going to move to Kelly. Kelly's agency is an example of someone you can partner with if you don't want to do any of this yourself. If you're like, hell no, I'm just going to bring somebody who understands this to the meeting. So Kelly, can you tell everybody about Sprout and how you work or intend to work with printers in this specific case?
You bet, Deborah. Thanks so much for having me today. So I am a 20-year veteran of Eastman Kodak. Before I took an early retirement package and started my own agency, Sprout Growth Services. I continue to work with Kodak as a consultant on different marketing communications projects. I had about 10 years of experience running marketing communications for their print business. And now I've got some project work with Fuji as well. So a lot of print experience. But the bulk of my business really comes from small to mid-sized companies. A lot of times that large agency model and the cost that goes along with it, it doesn't work for them. Large or small though, one of the things that I love to do is jump in and help clients when they're at an inflection point, to help them drive growth, to find new market opportunities, even to manage maturity curves. So for me, when it comes to digital marketing, it really is about strategic planning and the creation of engaging content that takes advantage of the client's digital presence. And in many cases, that includes helping them to build it. So, I want people to remember, aside from the tools and the perceived complexity of the digital tools, marketing is marketing. Digital marketing is marketing with new tools. And good marketing is always anchored in good data that drives quality, relevant content. But now there's just this powerful suite of digital tools available to people, and it helps you to gain marketing qualified leads in just so many different ways and so many different platforms by helping your target audience engage with your content. So, don't be overwhelmed by the perceived complexity. As I was saying, just think of them as different portals to your content or different doors into your house. And And then as people come and start to get engaged, it's a really also a great platform for turning those marketing qualified leads into a sales qualified lead. So marketing qualified lead is defined as someone who comes in and maybe checks out a full text article or something like that, or gives you their contact information, and then you can build a full circle connectivity with them. You can drive them to take actions effectively, like educating themselves on your portfolio, understanding your brand, your values, your capabilities, and your dedication to quality. So if someone clicks through a post on one of your social media platforms, say it's LinkedIn, brings them to a longer text article, perhaps a special offer, could be an opinion piece, it could even be an employee highlight that you've posted to your website. If there's something that engages this individual further, ideally something of value, they'll share their contact information, and then you can start sending them like a monthly e-newsletter or special offers or even surveys. That way you can gather data, you can track behaviors, you can see how they're responding to calls to action. Really warms those potential customers up for the next step in the sales process. So really, for digital marketing to work, you need to have something to say as an anchor point. It has to be interesting, it has to be relevant, it has to be valuable to your audience, and it has to be consistent. You can't just post a few blogs and then let it lie for 6 months. It has to have some kind of a cadence and a frequency. And in order to figure out what you're going to say, you have to figure out your story. And sometimes I think this feels a little bit overwhelming too, but some places for people to start would be data. Good marketing is always anchored in good data. So understand key industry trends, talk about them, share your learnings, become an industry thought leader, build a plan, a calendar, an editorial calendar. It's really hard for people, like say you plan to post every week to say, oh, what are we going to write about? What are we going to post? And plotting out your topics and your frequency in advance is really the way to go, or it's not sustainable otherwise. Right now, refreshing your brand and making sure that all your tools are working to the best of their ability, your SEO is working, your content is easy to navigate, restaging your presence, your digital brand presence helps you tell that story more comprehensively and consistently. Putting a human face on your company is important, I feel, as well. People buy from people. And so there's so many ways in the digital marketing mix that you can do this by highlighting your company values, telling your backstory. Was it your grandfather who started the business? How it evolved, what has kept you successful, your employees, your service to the community. This is a really important thing to millennials, how a brand lives in the world. You can comment on what others have to say, add your voice to the discussion, reflect real-time observations, customer interactions. So there's lots of ways to attack a content plan. And then your digital plan layers on top of that in terms of how you are getting that message out and pulling people back in to your content and engaging them. So if all of that seems nice to do, but I don't have time, writing is not my thing, you're by far not alone. Consistently pumping out content, it's not easy. So to Deborah's point, get help. And sometimes this can even be an internal resource, someone who's already very active and comfortable in the digital social media environment. They could be working for you. They could be a family member, a friend. There's plenty of external resources too that you can see from today's panel. And it doesn't have to be super expensive or super complicated, but companies that expect to succeed with a digital marketing program, you have to figure out and build up your content first, and then you add the tools to it and get the resources necessary to get that message out and to pull people back in.
So how do you actually work with printers? Are you an extension of them? Do they farm work to you? Do you speak directly to the prospects that they want to work with it more than just print work? How does the relationship begin, and what are the opportunities there?
Well, from a Sprout perspective, we really love to start with a strategic deep dive to see how your tools are working, to really get a sense of the brand, what hasn't worked, what your, perceived customer value is. A lot of times we'll go into a customer and see that they think they're selling on quality, but they're really selling on price. So, the messaging might be a little bit off. So we really try to get that foundation first, build out key messages, things that are relatable to the brand. So for example, let's take customers that are very active in the community. How does that tie to their core business? How do they tell stories about it? Are they taking pictures when they're doing a blood drive or a toy delivery or something like that? So we really try to get an archive and a strategic understanding of how that company lives, what its stories are, who it's talking to, how it's talking to people, and how to really kind of boil down to this. It has to be genuine. Content really has to be genuine. And like you mentioned sustainability in an earlier conversation. You don't want to greenwash things, but you do want to find the things that you're doing great and promote those and find new opportunities that you can talk about too. So we kind of start with strategic, we get into content creation, and then we get into that strategic tactical roadmap so that you can build a regularity on your editorial calendar.
Thank you so much. So now Siobhan is actually a consultant and she helps companies figure out what is best for them. So we presented two kind of options here, and Siobhan, you might actually have other options. So please just chime in.
Okay. Well, hi everybody, and Deborah, thanks for having me. So yeah, I mean, interestingly, so I started my career, I have an agency background as well, similar to Kelly. And I started my career in the kind of creative and production space, but for an agency that was very heavy in print. So really at the time, all it did was help its clients with print. And the predominant category or vertical that was at the time was in the publishing industry. And, as everybody knows, traditional publishing went through a huge change, a huge curve around understanding how to be able to monetize their content online, and all that kind of stuff. And it was really interesting to watch those that kind of embraced the uncertainty and the unknown and acknowledged that they didn't get it and that but that they needed to. And that they were going to just test and fail and test and do well and keep testing and iterating and changing. And that attitude was really amazing, as opposed to some of the publishers who maybe were very adamant that these other channels weren't going to come in, they weren't going to be powerful, and that print was going to be the be all and end all forever. It was never going to die. Obviously, that wasn't what played out. What also didn't play out, though, was that the print became any less powerful. It's continued to be an incredibly powerful channel, which sometimes maybe the focus is taken off, partly I think to do with the fact that the way the industry then developed was a lot of individuals went the kind of digital route, if you like, and a lot of people stayed in the print space. And then what we're seeing now is this kind of reintegration of that again. And I think that comes back to Kelly's point really, which is instead of thinking channel first, think content first. And if everything you're doing is coming from your story, your content, like you say, that there are tons of kind of executional ways of doing that, as well as making sure you've got the strategy in the first place. But digital is just a channel, and digital itself has multiple elements to it. Again, making it sometimes feel a little bit more scary than print as a channel, because really print has one kind of it functions in one way, if you like. You produce it in one way. The workflow and the process in order to do it is pretty similar, whatever you're producing. Whereas in digital, it's drastically different. Like if you're building a website, even if you're building like a CMS site as opposed to an e-commerce site, the process that you go through is very different. If you're looking at if you split digital marketing up, for example, you look at any type of media, whether it be paid, earned, owned, whether you then look at SEO, whatever, the process is it feels scary, it feels complicated, right? But But it only, as Kelly said, there are so many tools to help you, and there are so many people to help you, whether you go down the agency route, whether you go down the full-time employee route, whether you don't go down a consulting route, whether you kind of do a combination of that. And again, one of the agencies I used to work for, we actually built teams specifically for brands so that they had that ability to like pick and choose of that. So they could say like, is this mission critical to our business? Cool. We want to keep this in-house. If it isn't, we want a partner or an agency or an individual who is maybe outsourced. And even in some cases, maybe I also did a lot of work in the kind of offshoring space. And you can use that type of resource to really help you with a lot of the stuff that we're talking about that can feel scary and sometimes can be pretty cost prohibitive as well. So all of those things though are just the tactical bit. I think the key is to really understand what you are trying to do, like yourself internally. So, what are you trying to offer your clients, and what are their problems? Like, you can't really build a story for yourself and do any of the content strategy piece or, any of that kind of good stuff that we're talking about without really understanding, the problem you want to solve for yourself, if this is an internal conversation we're having, or the problem you're trying to solve for others. And unfortunately, like, every client doesn't have the same problem. So, understanding those and talking to them is really, really key. Now, something that I particularly love about the print industry, or the people that are more traditional in the print industry, for example, is their ability to network, to build community, how strong that is. I mean, I think, Deborah, you're an absolutely perfect example of that, being the owner, obviously, of that industry. So that's something that this group of individuals don't need to learn. They know, right? They know how to ask for help. They know how to talk about the things, I hope, that they don't know about. And I would recommend that that's where people start, really. Like, acknowledge that you don't necessarily have these answers, and your clients aren't necessarily expecting you to have them all either, right? And I'm sure anybody that's worked, with agencies like Kelly's before will know that too. You don't hold every answer here. The key is to build the conversations, find out what the problems are either internally or with your clients, and begin to put that puzzle together. And then pull on all the various elements that you're going to need to put the puzzle together, basically.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. I just want to remind you, digital marketing people, that using acronyms with the print people isn't always the best thing, because we don't understand a lot of what you're saying. But just quickly, what is a CMS? That was a question that Kelly Malassi asked, just quickly.
Content management system. So.
Okay.
Like a website that was just housing content as opposed to having some e-commerce functionality.
So like a WordPress blog would be okay.
A
very simple thing. Okay, great. Okay, so you guys are in this space, so it still seems a little complicated for, let's say, regular people. Let's talk about how to make a service out of this. Let's assume that a printer is engaged in some sort of blogging, engaged in social media, and has a comprehensive website. Let's just hope and pray that that's the baseline. Moving forward from there, at this point in time, with print volumes not back to where they are, and probably not for a bit of time, people are scrambling for new things, new areas to go into. Printers have easily pivoted to providing personal protective equipment and barriers and things like that, because it's manufacturing. It's still in their wheelhouse of what I believe most printers believe are their opportunities for service offerings. But somebody's doing digital marketing for somebody, if it's not them, and there is an opportunity to push and pull. If I'm doing print and I'm going to be is there a landing page for this postcard, something as simple as that, right? It could be as simple as that, offering that as a digital tool, or a QR code that leads to a web page, which I believe that, Rob, that would be something that your program could easily set up, right? Your templates along those lines. So can we bring it down to like the first entry level gateway drug services that a printer could offer in digital marketing that does not make their heads explode or bring in, let's say programmers necessarily? Anybody want to start?
Sure, I will. So really interesting to hear Kelly and Siobhan talk. I guess they're talking about ways to use digital marketing to bring people to your print business, and 100% everybody should be talking to these ladies about that. It's 100% critical for every business. I guess my message is operating in maybe a slightly different space. So for our business, this has been more about giving you the tools to sell these services to your clients, rather than using these tools to generate brand awareness or clients directly for your print business. So I think the first step that we found, going from being a manufacturer to being service-led sales, was the ability to be able to build CMS or e-commerce websites with our existing members of staff. Our members of staff who are talking to clients throughout this unusual period about what business they're doing, what marketing they're doing.
Oops. Okay.
Deborah, well,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's frozen.
Okay. All right. Well,
I think maybe
Are you there, Rob?
Have I? Yeah. Have I gone offline?
No, you're a little lagged, but just cover your mouth so nobody knows it's like a Godzilla movie.
So I guess the first step that our business took was to be able to find a way to deliver those simple CMS-led brochure websites to our clients, generate some revenue from that, which could then move that client into a subscription service like SEO or content creation. I think it's not as scary as it sounds. I'd encourage every printer now really to start bridging that gap, because your clients are going somewhere to get their website done. Your clients are going somewhere to get their SEO services done. And if the business they're going to also offers print, then your clients might not be coming back to you for that service. So the first step, I think, in making a service-led business out of your print business, you have the clients, you have the goodwill, you're constantly talking to your clients about their objectives, adding into them that you can offer a service to build them their simple first website, their simple first e-commerce site, is an easy way to make your clients stickier. And it's an easier way for you to generate new revenue without having to incur the cost of employing a developer or a new member of staff. But that, coupled with using the services that Siobhan and Kelly have made to generate new business for your print company, I think are two major steps that every printer should be taking.
Siobhan, Kelly?
I can go. So to Rob's point, I think there are three different elements being represented here. One is, the tools, and as well as expanding the tools that printers are offering. One is, how the content can work for you. And part of that is also targeting properly. So I think one of the challenges in today's environment is that it's a mixed bag of a story, right? You've got certain segments of customers that printers serve that are severely impacted by the virus. So travel, hospitality, cruise ships, retail. So signage is way down because brick and mortar is not seeing the traffic, right? A lot of stores are closing, but there's opportunity in healthcare, in home delivery service, in DIY home improvement. So understanding your market. So I think where Siobhan is more of like a strategic, what are your business goals? I think your targeting is as important as what you're saying, to make sure you're saying it to the right people. So content is about expressing data, but also interpreting, internalizing that data first to understand what the trends are and where you may be making some business decisions, which should be reflected in your marketing decisions, not vice versa. So I don't know if Siobhan might want to comment on that.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree, Kelly. I mean, I think I would say that the key is like understanding what you can do as well. Like this is, and we're uncovering that as we go. It's a huge space and it can be complicated. And what you don't want to do is be offering services in this space that you potentially can't do, and you can get yourself into a sticky place pretty quickly. Like the words e-commerce, like that literally means enabling something to be purchased, right? But like that's also Amazon, and clearly nobody's gonna probably at the get-go going to have the capabilities to be building that. And so I would say, like, be quite honest with yourselves, like spend a bit of time like doing things like you're doing right now, researching. There is so much incredible content out there right now. In the last 6 months, the content that is free and online and the ability for you to learn and educate yourself is like never seen before. It's incredible. I must spend 4 hours a day on webinars. I love it. I feel like I hated going to university, but now I kind of love it. And I would urge everybody to do that, learn, right? And that will give you the ability to start to just home in a little bit on what you can do. Because again, like you need to be able to go through that client list and say, who of these clients can I service in this space right now? Like you guys, a lot of these people, and I'm hearing these big brands, like their digital marketing or any type of digital needs are probably pretty big and wide and probably not something that you can start with. What you need to do is identify the clients who, like you say, Deborah, have maybe not ever touched anything, don't even have a website. And what that you can do is, use some simple tools either by yourself or working with agencies like Rob's or whatever, to be able to do that for them. But what you don't want to do is get yourself into a situation where you are suggesting that you can cover certain digital production, creative and production tasks that you can't. And before you know it, you've pivoted your business into a place that isn't actually your core business. You've taken your attention away from what is your core business, and you're in a kind of scary place, right? You're looking to, to be able to do that now and do it for the right type of clients. And I think that starts by identifying with, what you can do. And I know that that's hard in theory. What you don't know, but you're in the best place ever right now to learn it. There has never been a better time, pretty much, and more free content everywhere. I mean, look at it. Deborah's created a 3-day event around it, and so is everybody else. So, I would urge you to educate yourselves, for sure.
Deborah,
Okay.
I would also add just very quick. I think you talk about an easy on-ramp. Sometimes that could be just like a little mini campaign. So get someone to a call to action, a special offer, see if you're targeting the right audience, see what the response rates are. Just do a little experiment and, make sure that it's easy to navigate. It's very intuitive, that people know how to engage with your company. I think that's one of the trickier aspects of building your digital assets. Make sure when people get onto your platforms, they know what they want and how to get there. So, just starting with a few little campaigns, for example, might be an easy way to experiment.
And that actually, Deborah, just one other thing, sorry, I was going to say that Kelly just made me think about is a little bit around process, right? And this is something that I think hopefully everybody can be very comfortable with because, as printers, we're very comfortable and understand the value of process, right? And workflow management and things like that. In digital, it is critical to have a process. So critical. And it doesn't have to be super complicated, right? But even understanding like the power of discovery, for example, like it's really, really important in digital, in any form of digital. And I'm talking just like building really simple, websites to understand exactly, get those expectations set at the beginning. Because the number one thing that happens in digital, in my kind of 20 years experience I've seen anyway, is misexpectation alignment. Somebody is, and a lot of it is because of a lack of education of understanding how things are actually created. And if you are kind of new to that as a vendor, as a printer or whatever, the likelihood is that you're choosing clients who are also new to that. What you're going to end up with is that kind of crossover of misexpectations all the time. So, oh, I thought that you meant it was going to do this when I clicked it. Oh, no. Like, in order for it to do that, that's like another 3 hours development, like be really like, get somebody to help you with the process side of it, and understand that just the key steps in the beginnings of digital process would be another thing that I would recommend educating yourselves on.
Okay, we're going to wind this up now. I just have one final question. Karis, I'm not sure if I saw any questions in the chat, but if there are, just turn your camera on, and if they're not, I'll assume that there aren't. But in the meantime, really quickly, because I want to shut this webinar down in time. Rob, I'm a owner of a print shop. I'm looking around. How do I assess if I have enough prospects out there or enough clients I'm currently working with to take the next step and work and come into the Nettl family?
Sure. So you probably already do have the right amount of prospects and clients there. So probably the next step is to see a little bit more about how it works. The girls' points are absolutely valid. Process is absolutely key. Experience is key, and not taking on the wrong type of project that you can't deliver, because like Siobhan said, you get yourself into a right mess. And trust me, I've been there at the start. I've said yes to the wrong projects. I've been the one that's had his bottom spanked by investments, and it's very important that you get those things right. And I guess that's just about not jumping in the deep end of the pool until you've been in the shallow end, paddled around a bit and got comfortable with the water, because it is tricky to get yourselves into a horrible position. So we tried to put together the pathways and the steps which help guide people through this journey, because it can be a minefield. With the community around you, hopefully together we can navigate those potholes without getting into too much difficulty. If anyone wants to know more or to see how it might fit with their existing business, just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll have a session with you to explore if this might be the right thing to investigate, or not, because like the girl said, it's not the right route for everybody.
Definitely not, but everybody should be looking at every opportunity, and that's why we presented 3 different options here. And Karis has put the everybody's link for LinkedIn in the chat room. Kelly, can printers assess? Okay, I'm ready. I've got enough prospects. I've got enough customers who need these services. I need an agency. How do they know that that's the moment?
Well, we talked about inflection point. Sometimes it's change in a positive way. Sometimes it's change in a way that you have to scramble to figure out how to adjust to the current realities. I think in general, when people go out looking for marketing, they really have to be grounded in what the brand, your business, your competition, what's happening with your industry demographics. Are they shifting? What's happening in your user journey? We talked about that a little bit. What process do customers follow from initial contact to conversion? What's the historical activity? Is search working for you? Can your audience find you? And ultimately, this will kind of lead into Siobhan, maybe, what are your business objectives? Because marketing shouldn't stand alone. It should absolutely be integrated in what you need to do to find success, and how you define that success is part of that journey as well.
Thank you so much. Actually, Siobhan, if you don't mind, Siobhan can help everybody figure out what is the right path for them. But if you can, in 2 minutes or less, I forgot to mention that you're the president of the Advertising Production Club of New York, which I am honored to sit on the board as a member at large, and I help with some of the events. But yep. If you can tell everybody a little bit about that, and now that it's open to everybody, how they can connect with people. And by the way, these are where the big brands and the big buyers from the agencies hang out. Siobhan, please.
Yeah, no, cool. I mean, I think I would say as my kind of one piece of advice would be talk to your customers. Like, you can never, ever be having enough conversations with your customers. It's the way you will find out their pains, their problems, and it's the way that you'll work out where you're suited to solve them. And you don't want to be solving problems that you're not the one to solve, that no one's interested in that. So yeah, to Deborah's point, I am the president of the Advertising Production Club of New York. We are a Deborah is possibly our number one fan. We are a organization that's been going for a long time, actually, over originally founded very heavily in print, as you can imagine, but now very much a representative of the whole, advertising production space. So definitely digital is included in that. We focus on kind of like three main areas, really. So education. And again, that is education for young people who are looking to come into the industry in any way that they may look like, as well as individuals within the industry. So there is a ton of peer-to-peer learning, and again, great place for you to start, homing in on some of that kind of content that we talked about. We also are very heavy, obviously, on community, whether that be networking, our own type of webinars like this environment. In the old days, we used to meet in person. But we don't meet in person anymore. But that's okay, because like Deborah said, that means that you don't have to be in New York to be in the club.
Yay!
Because now you can be anywhere.
And
why I'm currently in California.
They have online programming. It's ridiculously inexpensive to sponsor a webinar and reach their people and really get in that ecosystem. And I suggest that everybody does it. I want to thank everybody so much for their time. Rob, somebody named Ryan has a question about why you don't white label Nettl, but I believe you said in the beginning of this webinar that you do now. So Ryan, please connect with Rob on LinkedIn and work that out. And I just want to thank everybody so much for joining us. Connect with everybody on LinkedIn. Thank you so much to Karis Kopp from Karis Kopp Media, who is manning the chat, and Morten Reithoff, who has been handling production and directing behind the scenes. I'm going to turn off the webinar now.